Hey bookworms, welcome to my channel. My name is Indigo and I recently challenged myself to read 5 books in 5 days. Not to prove my worth as a reader or suffer from my love of literature, no. The real reason, I currently have over 32 library books checked out and it's time to actually read some of them. I need to slow down and work through the ones I already have before I add any more to my ever-growing library TBR pile. So I selected 5 books I was sure I could finish in a day, ranging from memoir to mystery and from 74 pages to about 255 pages. The only rule, 1 book at a time. I wanted to enjoy the process, not overwhelm myself. Again, this wasn't about proving anything. It was simply about making a dent in my ever-growing TBR pile. So, let's see how it went. As you can see, it is much later in the day and I just finished A Shining by Jon Fosse. I actually finished it a little while ago. I needed a moment to collect my thoughts because this book was certainly an experience. I read words and I read a book and things happened, but I don't really know what happened. A man starts driving without knowing where he is going. He alternates between turning right and left and ultimately finds himself stuck at the end of a forest road. It soon grows dark and begins to snow, but instead of searching for help, he ventures foolishly into the dark forest. Inevitably, the man gets lost and he grows cold and tired. He encounters a glowing being amid the obscurity. Strange, haunting, and dreamlike, A Shining is the latest work of National Book Award finalist. Okay, yeah, so that's the overview. Everything that is listed in the overview is what happened in this book, but it felt different. I went into this book thinking it would be a dark, mysterious, otherworldly type story, but it wasn't. It was and it wasn't at the same time. I guess I'm somewhat disconnected from the story because what I thought was going to take place or how I thought this book was going to feel was a lot different than it actually felt. And after reading it, I did a little research on the author, and it turns out this author is known for these types of stories where it's thought-provoking, it's sort of abstract in a way, and that wasn't what I was anticipating going into this read. I don't want to spoil it, so I'll just say that I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. It's not a terrible book, it's just not what I was expecting, and I feel like in order to truly appreciate this book, you have to appreciate the author and understand their type of work. It's just that I didn't really connect with the story overall. That doesn't make it a bad book. You know, that's the thing about reading. Someone will read this and feel like it is a masterpiece, and then someone like me will read it and be a little confused. So even though it's not what I expected, it's not a bad book. It's just that I'm having a hard time connecting with it, and I'm just going to give it 2.5 stars. If you have read this book before or any of the books that I'm reading this week, please leave a comment below letting me know how you felt about it, and if you absolutely loved it and felt connected, or you were like me and just wondered what exactly is taking place here. I would love to know. But this is book 1 of day 1. And I am somewhat disappointed in the start, but hey, I accomplished something. I read a book in a day. Tomorrow I think I'm going to read some Stephen King. We'll see how that goes. But yes, not the best start to this whole challenge. I am a little disappointed, but I am happy that I completed a read in a day, and I will catch up with you guys tomorrow for day 2 and book 2. Even the most die-hard baseball fans don't know the true story of William Blockade Billy Blakely. He may have been the greatest player the game has ever seen, but today, no one remembers his name. He was the first and only player to have his existence completely removed from the record books. Even his team is long forgotten, barely a footnote in the game's history. Every effort was made to erase any evidence that William Blakely played professional baseball with good reason. Blockade Billy had a secret darker than any pill or injection that might cause a scandal in sports today. His secret was much, much worse, and only Stephen King, the most gifted storyteller of our age, will be able to reveal the truth to the world once and for all. So, yep, let's see how this goes. Hopefully, it's a lot better than the book I read yesterday. I have a feeling it will be, but let's see how it goes. Okay, so I just finished reading Blockade Billy, and my oh my, that was a good book. It's only, I think, 112. Yep, it's only 112 pages, but it packs a punch. I will say the story gets juicier more towards the end. And if you're not a fan of baseball or don't really understand baseball, it might be kind of hard for you to get through this story and kind of want to stick with it. But this was a really good book. The book is presented as if Stephen King is interviewing one of the former baseball coaches by the name of George Granny Grantham. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. So it reads as if Stephen King is interviewing Granny, and Granny is telling the wild story of Blockade Billy. And that was really clever, really unique. I didn't expect the story to be told that way. I love this book. I think it was pretty good. I'm going to give it 4 stars. I don't think it was the best book ever, but it was pretty good. So much better than the book I read yesterday. I wish I had started off with this book because, yeah, this was a really good read. Like I said before, if you're not a fan of baseball or don't really understand baseball, it can be kind of difficult. I would say it'd be kind of difficult to get through this book, but it was really good. There were some clues scattered throughout the book. Well, I won't say scattered throughout the book. There were little hints here and there about Blockade Billy's secret, but the big reveal was pretty shocking. I didn't expect this book to end the way it did. I had my own ideas of how it was going to end, and I was pleasantly surprised. So I'm happy to say that book 2 was a win. I might read another Stephen King book tomorrow for day 3. This was such a good introduction to his writing, and I can't wait to read the next Stephen King book I have for tomorrow. That one's a little longer than this book. That one I think is about maybe 150 pages. I'm not sure, but yeah, this book really made me excited to read another Stephen King book. So yeah, day 2 was a success. Day 3, book 3. Today I'm reading another Stephen King book. I decided to go with Elevation. This book has been in my library TBR pile for a while now, since last year. I kept renewing it, and yeah, so I think I need to read it finally. It's actually due in about a week. I ran out of renewals for it, so I have to read this book, and I've had it for long enough, so it's about time that I read it. I hope that I'm able to finish it today. I have a lot to do today. I'm getting a late start, so hopefully I'm able to finish this book today, or at least get through most of it and then be able to finish it tomorrow and then start book 4 tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. But today is another Stephen King book, and I can't wait to see how it goes. Castle Rock is a small town where word gets around quickly. That's why Scott Carey wants to confide only in his friend Dr. Bob Ellis about his strange condition. He's losing weight without getting thinner, and the scales register the same whether he's in his clothes or out of them, no matter how heavy they are. Scott also has new neighbors who have opened a fine dining experience in town, although it's an experience being shunned by the locals. Deirdre McComb and her wife Missy Donaldson don't exactly conform to a lifestyle the community approves of, and now Scott seems trapped in a feud with the couple over their dogs dropping their business on his lawn. Missy may be warm and friendly, but Deirdre is cold as ice. As the town prepares for its annual Thanksgiving 12K run, Scott begins to understand the prejudices the women face and tries to help. Unlikely alliances form, and the mystery of Scott's affliction brings out the best in people who have indulged in the worst in themselves and others. Day 4. After I finished reading Elevation last night, I took my butt to bed. I was pretty tired, so I'm going to give you guys my thoughts today before I forget and start reading the next book. So Elevation by Stephen King was an interesting read. I'm going to give it 3 stars. I love how it touched on homophobia and prejudice and living in a small town, but it felt really empty. I wasn't expecting a life-changing perspective on those topics. I wasn't expecting something grand, but it felt a little shallow. This book left me satisfied and wanting more at the same time. I loved the characters. I loved Deirdre and Missy. I loved Bill DeCat. I loved Scott's cat's name. I thought that was absolutely adorable. But when it comes to the, can you call it sci-fi? I don't know. When it comes to the aspect of Scott losing weight, but nothing changing about him physically, I'm not sure how that ties into touching into prejudice and living in a small town and those social topics. So I'm going to say that the ending left me feeling emotional. It did touch me, but I don't really know how all of it fits together. I'm not going to say this was a bad book, but I'm not going to say it was a good book. So I'm giving it 3 stars. It could be better. If you want to check it out, I'll still recommend it. I don't think it was so weird, so off that I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, if you're interested in giving a short Stephen King book a read, I suggest it. And if you've read it before, please let me know how you felt about it, because I'm just all over the place. So yeah, that's my review for Stephen King's Elevation. Today, I'm going to be reading The Last Lecture, which is a book I've been wanting to read for a few years now. I got really excited when I saw it at my library, but then I got distracted by other books, and now it is due today. So I definitely want to make sure that I finish that book so I can take it back on time. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get this reading day started. The Last Lecture is a memoir by Carnegie Mellon professor Randy Pausch, written after his terminal cancer diagnosis. He shares lessons on achieving dreams, embracing life, and cherishing every moment. Somebody left their library list in this book, and I am very tempted to try to find these books and see if I like them. I think I might keep this list and see if I can find these books at the library. Is that weird? I think that would be kind of fun, reading a stranger's TBR list. Right now I'm on page 148 and I wanted to share this tidbit of wisdom. Experience is what you get when you didn't get what you wanted. It's a phrase worth considering at every brick wall we encounter and at every disappointment. It's also a reminder that failure is not just acceptable, it's often essential. I love that. So I just finished reading The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch, and I'm going to give this book 4 stars. It really hits you in the feels. It makes you think about life, how you live it, how you want it to feel, the impact you have on others, going after your dreams, not being afraid, recognizing that hard work and obstacles are a part of life. I give it 4 stars. It just really hit me in the feels. I got emotional when he started talking about his wife and his kids. I mean, his daughter was 18 months at the time that he was writing this book, so it just really hits you in the heart. Really good read. I definitely recommend it. I'm so sad that I have to part ways with it. I have to take it back to the library. Somebody else is wanting to read this book. If I could renew it to hold on to it a little longer, I would. I'm going to add a few tidbits to my reading journal, some things that resonated with me. But yes, this is a 4-star read, and day 4, book 4 is complete. Tomorrow is going to be the final day of my little reading challenge, and I'm excited to dive into An Elderly Woman is Not to Be Crossed. An Elderly Lady is Not to Be Crossed. That is part 2 to a book that I finished recently. An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good. But yeah, day 4, book 4 was a success. An Elderly Lady Must Not Be Crossed by Helene Tursten is a darkly humorous crime novel following Maud, an 88-year-old woman who appears harmless but has a deadly way of handling those that get in her way. I just finished reading An Elderly Lady Must Not Be Crossed, and I'm going to give this read 4 stars. This is the follow-up to An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good, and I gave that one, I think, 3.6 or 3.75 stars. I liked it, but the story kind of lost its footing throughout that book. But this one is actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. I love the way it ended. I'm giving this one 4 stars. This was definitely a good read. Maud is still up to her antics. She's still mischievous and calculating, and I absolutely love her for it. This was a really good book. I think I'm going to go ahead and read part 1 and see if it hits me a little different. But I'm happy to say that book 5 was a success, and that this whole reading a book a day for 5 days overall has been a success. Even though I've enjoyed this whole process, I am glad that this whole challenge is over, so that way I can dive into some other books that I've been wanting to read. But yeah, day 5, book 5 has been a success. 5 books, 5 days, approximately 800 pages. I enjoyed this little challenge of mine, and I'm proud of myself for seeing it through. And I can honestly say I see myself doing something like this again. But what about you? Do you see yourself attempting a 5-day reading challenge? Even if you're not sure, I say give it a try. You can start off by reading a certain amount of pages per day or reading for a certain amount of time. Whatever floats your boat. As long as you enjoy the process and you don't overwhelm yourself. It's important to never lose the joy of reading. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you like what you see. And I will talk to you beautiful, amazing people in my next video. Bye guys.